As someone that has been described as the human embodiment of Justin Moore's Bait a Hook, it happens sometimes that I get some country references wrong in the songs that I'm reviewing. And I review a lot of songs. You're going to get stuff wrong. Like I had to Google Zebco, I remember once, to find out that's a fishing brand. Today I Googled Hubs when listening to the Pardi album and was like, okay, that's part of a truck. The Country Squire, I didn't realize that was a camper. I thought it was talking about like a castle or something. But today I had a new one, a new doozy of one. Colter has a new song called Henry and Sam. And I believe the song to be about dogs because one of these Henry and Sam objects is long and lean. He says the other one barks. He says they protect him. He says they tremble in his hand. I thought that was about a dog. Guys, it's about guns. Those are types of guns. Sorry. And speaking of dog songs, let's go with Tim McGraw's new album, Here on Earth. 7500 OBO. This is definitely not an album defined by dog songs, although it does end with a song called Doggone that is just a very literal song about losing your dog. Here on Earth is a very strange album to me. It's got this kind of like spacey cover, as you can see, and they're definitely trying to go with some of those celestial atmospherics that Casey Musgraves has really quickly popularized, and other people I think want to capture that golden hour energy, and you saw Little Big Town do it earlier this year with their album Nightfall. I don't think that successfully. I think it just kind of washed out the sound and made it a little bit too low-key of a record. And I would say the same thing is kind of true of Tim McGraw's song selections here. I feel like they tried to take a little bit of inspiration from Rocket Man on this, and they pumped up the strings really loud and wanted everything to swell. And stars on the boulevard every night and day. You even get moments of organ in the background of some of these songs, but that whole first half of the record, I think really drags because it feels so serious, and yet the songs aren't that serious. Like Hallelujahville is supposed to be about just loving being from a simple small town, and it's so not simple and so unnecessarily reverby that I don't think that comes across. Chevy Spaceship is a profoundly strange song about wanting to be in your Chevy and also in space looking down on Earth, and I really do dislike the line like we could catch a Buzz Lightyear. That's a no. I was really intrigued to hear the song Sheryl Crow, only for it to be so weird. He's like, you're like the first time I heard Sheryl Crow, you're gonna be stuck in my head all day. And it's got the same groove as, was it Looking for That Girl? It's almost like a shouty, overbearing R&B vibe on that song. Just don't like it. Although now that Taylor Swift has sung a song called Tim McGraw, and Tim McGraw has sung a song called Sheryl Crow, I believe it is Sheryl Crow's sacred duty to complete the cycle and sing a song called Taylor Swift. There are a few moments on this album I do love though. The single, I Called Mama, I think is beautiful. So I stopped off at a Texaco, bought a Slim Jim and a Coke. When you get to that moment on the record, it does kind of open up. That song is so much more simple and instrumental and acoustic and doesn't have a lot of that swelling production on it. And it just feels really nice. It's a nice respite from the rest of the album. And that's followed by a song called Gravy that I also really enjoy. This is a song about gratitude. You know, he's got what he needs and everything else is just gravy. It's a little cheesy to use gravy, which, side note, is the bane of my existence every Thanksgiving. Can you imagine being at a table where you think everyone wants to talk to you and then it turns out they just want the gravy? Because that's me every Thanksgiving, disappointedly passing you the gravy. In the first half of the record, there's also two songs right by each other that I think sound great, Good Taste in Women and Hard to Stay Mad At, both beautiful, simple, and country. And then I think Not From California as a simple piano ballad is pretty beautiful as well. I haven't talked about all the songs on this record. It's very long, it's over an hour. I think there are some very strange choices. I don't really understand how they all fit together. There's a touch of preachiness in here, and I think sometimes when stars are getting older, they feel like they really need to say something, and on the title track, Here on Earth, I'm like, I don't know that you're really saying that much. But to me, this is an album that is less than the sum of its parts. It needs a little bit more upbeat moments sometimes. It needs some cohesion. And the spacey, celestial theme, I think, works against it more than I think works for it. So on the whole, I'd give it like a 5.5 out of 10. Old Dominion just released a remix of their self-titled album. This one is called Meow Mix. Meow, 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 meow. I don't know why Old Dominion chose to re-release an entire album with no words, only meowing in the place of those lyrics, but I honestly love that they did it. This is my favorite thing I think Old Dominion has ever put out. I'm always complaining that I feel like this music's just like a little too in the middle, trying to just be like simple and pleasant and lighthearted. So I kind of feel like just meowing instead of even thinking about the lyrics is kind of cool, because it made me sit and be like, you know, this music is, there's something to it. It's easy to bop along with. I enjoy meowing. And I think you might enjoy meowing as well. I think this is profound. I think it's beautiful. I'm going to give this an 11 out of 10. I'm just kidding. I don't know what I'd give it, but it's very funny to me that they did it. We've also got Caylee Hammack and her debut record, If It Wasn't For You.
They raise a little hell when they raise a little red hair.
Caylee Hammack, who you might know from songs like Family Tree or Small Town Hypocrite. Neither of them have really been huge hits, but she's a major label artist in Nashville. She's got bright red hair, and she has got a crazy good voice. I mean, that is the main thing she has going for her. It's just this huge voice that on songs like the opener on this, Just Friends, you just hear her wail.
We should have been, we should have been.
And I really like some of the more rock-inflected stuff, almost punk rock-inflected stuff on this album. Someone told me it kind of reminds them of Avril Lavigne on the first song, and I can totally hear that. On Just Friends, you've got a bit of that. On Family Tree, you've got a bit of that. And then on this duet she has with Reba McEntire, Redhead, you really feel the firepower and the sass and how charismatic her voice is. But it feels to me like they were kind of trying to figure out who she is on this album, because a lot of it is gussied up, and there's kind of like smoother, sweeter, poppier moments. Like there's the song Appreciate Ya, which I almost wish it were like this Jody Messina, funny, fiery song called Appreciate Ya, but it's got a much poppier, smoother vibe about it. And I personally don't think that's where she shines as much. I mean, there's a track near the end of the record called Gold, where you just hear her with almost nothing around her, and it's going to remind you of some of the stuff that made the Civil Wars feel so special and different in this kind of sparse, rocking sound. I think she should lean more in the rock direction. I do also think she's a good songwriter. Looking for a Lighter, that's a really, really good lyric. Redhead, that's a really fun lyric. Small Town Hypocrite, that's excellent.
And that scholarship was a ship that sailed when I chose you and Daddy.
I like Forged in the Fire's words about being a phoenix. I mean, I feel like that's such an anthem for her, even if I feel like they did a little too much on the track. But I just think it's sort of a mess of an album sonically, but her voice is awesome. And there are certain people where when you're angry at the production, you're not even angry at it just for sounding too poppy and not being country, although it's not. You're angry because her voice can do all the work. And at a certain point, too much production, too much layering, too much stuff going on is actually subtracting from the main thing that's going to get people to listen to her. At least that's how I see it. I actually feel similar about it to how I feel about the Tim McGraw record, so maybe I'd also give it like a 5.5. Up next is Josh Turner's cover album, Country State of Mind.
I'm no stranger to the rain.
This album is one of the most pleasing listens I have had the entire year. It's all covers, some of them really random, like the last track on here I had to Google, what the heck is this song, The Caretaker? And I guess it was an old, deep cut, I don't even know if it was released, Johnny Cash track. But this album has stuff like Country State of Mind and Midnight in Montgomery and Desperately, and every single song on here sounds totally rich, beautiful, and it's showing off that perfect voice that Josh Turner has, that deep, wholesome, good, hearty sound. I mean, his cover of Forever and Ever Amen, not only is it beautiful, it also features Randy Travis giving his first vocal since his stroke in 2013. It's simple, it's just at the very end of the song, he says amen, and it's cool to hear Randy Travis, it's cool to hear him on a record. There are two more features near the end of the album, one with Runaway June on You Don't Seem to Miss Me, and then another one with Maddie and Tay on Desperately. They're both excellent.
No one can take away the...
Something about the mix of kind of these women harmonizing and Josh's voice just providing such a contrast, this deeper, bassier thing. It's so golden. And to hear the instruments so unadulterated by the production, the wall of sound that I love to villainize, is so awesome. Like, you hear Chris Jansen on Country State of Mind with him, and then you hear like a big fiddle rip into the sound, and you're hearing that steel running all behind, and then just the thrumming guitar. Like, I just feel like you hear the strings themselves on this album.
Hey, I'm laid up here in a sultry state of mind.
It just feels tasteful and good, and I loved it. I loved it. Now, it's a cover album, so I feel like I generally am not going to put those in like the best of the year list, but just the experience I had listening to this album was like an easy 9 out of 10. There was no moments where I was like, that really didn't work. But then it's a cover album, so I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying, it might be the best score of the year. I doubt it makes the year-end list, but it's so good to have Josh Turner music to talk about. A few little very miniature reviews of albums I've just given one cursory listen to at the end of this video. The first is John Pardi's Rancho Fiesta Sessions.
I'm a honky-tonk man, and I can't seem to stop.
This is like totally a quarantine album. I feel like John Pardi just wants to keep him and his band excited, motivated, busy. And so they recorded sort of these Western-inspired covers of songs like Honky Tonk Man, which is probably my favorite in the collection here, as well as Nothing Compares to You, the Prince and Sinead O'Connor song. That's the most off the wall. It's the most intriguing, but Honky Tonk Man, I'd say, is the crowd pleaser if there's one to check out there. I think it's just meant to be a fun little bonus for fans. But does it feel as beautifully curated and thought through as Josh Turner's cover record? No. Charley Crockett has an album called Welcome to Hard Times.
Take a look in my eyes. Tell me what.
I don't know everything about Charley Crockett. His name has been around a lot in the last few years. I think he's put out 8 albums in the last like 6 years, but he's got a deep voice. He's almost got like that same Western energy that Colter has, but make it a little more Texas or Cajun. The title track, Welcome to Hard Times, one of the funniest, best songs this year about just like life ain't easy. And I think there is something warm and inviting about his voice, even though it is so deep, and the sound of this album. I enjoyed it. I'd have to learn a lot more about Charley Crockett before I ever tried to talk with any sense about him. Kane Brown has a new mixtape EP out, and it's, it's Kane Brown. I feel very validated that I said that Boyfriend Country was all about literally worshiping women, and then Kane Brown released a song called Worship You. I think this is essentially a pop album like a lot of Kane Brown stuff, with the notable exception of the song BFE, which is a jam. You can Google what BFE means. It is essentially a very strange slang that means the middle of nowhere in Florida. And I like that it just feels totally different and rockin' and country, and that's the positive thing I would say about this EP. Otherwise, it's a no from me. And then there's Daniel Donato with A Young Man's Country.
Ain't no other way to lay it down. You're the way I feel right now.
You know, for all the people trying to do this spacey sound, this has kind of been Daniel Donato's thing, cosmic country, for a while now. He's a young performer. He is well known for playing at Robert's Western World all the time and just being like a musical, prodigy. And there's definitely a lot of that musicality shown off on this record. I tend to really like country music for its structure. I like that it's lyrically dense. I like that we don't have a lot of huge instrumental breaks because I think it leads to a really tight lyric, but this is an album that is full of jamming. There are long sections of huge outros that really go places. And if you go into that record with that mindset, it's a ton of fun to listen to. When I'm on the treadmill, I'm really obsessed with the song Meet Me in Dallas from this record, and I just love swelling my run as the song gets bigger and bigger, and it's just like a total jam. I also really like the idea of the song Justice. He says, there ain't no justice unless it's us. There ain't no justice without you. Almost saying like, on one level, you know, I want to be with you, and it's not fair until we're together. But on another level, that there's this like cosmic morality to the world, and that it needs to be us together. I just think that's an interesting line. I know there's tons of stuff that I've probably missed. I haven't heard the Ray Lynn EP or Lindsay Ells, but whatever. I needed to get caught up. I feel caught up. I always feel good when I'm done with an album roundup. So let me know your thoughts on these. Holy moly, I just filmed for 80 minutes, and this was supposed to be short, so go us. I'm pitting. That's how long I've been shooting. All right, guys.